I know. I've been doing a lot of Apple related videos recently, but hear me out. I'm going to be selling the iMac. So this is going to be one last quick comparison between the iMac and the MacBook Pro. So why am I selling the iMac? Well, basically I need two screens. I like lots of screens, but I don't need two computers. So the iMac hasn't really been used properly for a while, ever since I got the MacBook here. So yeah, unfortunately the iMac has to go. But before I do, I just want to quickly show you guys what the speed difference is between the 2011 27-inch iMac that I've got here and the MacBook Pro. If we just take a quick look at the specs here, as you can see, it's a 3.4 GHz Intel Core i7 with 16 GB of RAM that I've upgraded myself because it's cheaper. And the quick info, it has got a AMD 697M with 1 GB of video RAM on it. There you can see it's 27-inch. And storage, it has got a 250 gig SSD installed and the internal 1 TB hard disk drive. But we're just gonna quickly do a Blackmagic speed test on this drive. If we select the desktop, that will do. Yeah, 5 gig. Give it a quick run. The write speed is around 150-ish, 140, which is all right. But in comparison to the latest generations of SSDs, it's actually not that good at 144 write speed. The read is around 212. Also, it's quick, but definitely not as quick as the newer SSDs that you can get on the market these days. So that's just a quick look at the speed of the SSD. And then the next test we're going to do is run a quick Geekbench on this system. Right, here we're then finally done after about 2 minutes, and as you can see, we've got a multi-score of 11,094 and a single core score of 2,224. Whatever that means, but we shall see once we do the MacBook's Geekbench, then we can see what the comparison is like. And yes, so that's the score for the iMac. Let's move on to the MacBook Pro. So this is the MacBook Pro. If we just quickly go and check out the specs, it's a 2.3 GHz Intel Core i7 with quad cores, I believe. Yes, of course. It's got 16 gigs of inbuilt RAM, which you can't change. Great. It has got a inbuilt Intel graphics card, but it also has the nVidia GeForce 750 GT mobile graphics chip on it, which is like, it switches between it depending on the demand on the system. And obviously it's a Retina display. Storage, it has a 500 GB of PCIe based flash drive instead of an SSD. So this one, it will be quicker. You'll see in a minute. So yeah, that's 16 gig, and let's quickly go and do a speed test to see the difference between the MacBook's hard drive and the iMac's. Can you see that? That's the write speed on the flash drive on the MacBook Pro, which is writing at 680 or around 700 megabytes per second, and the read speed is even quicker at 735 megabytes per second. It's absolutely maxed it out. It's so damn quick. I'm considering I'm also running the screen recording in the background as well. So basically the write is around 700 or slightly more, and the read is around 730 megabytes read. Mega quick. It's unbelievably quick. So let's quit that, and next we're going to do a Geekbench. And for this part I'm going to stop the screen recording, so obviously trying to give it a bit of I did the same for the iMac, so don't think it's like an unfair advantage. So I'm going to hit run and be right back. So we are back, and we have the score for the MacBook. As you can see, the single core score is 3,162 compared to the iMac's 2,924, so they're roughly the same. I mean, the MacBook's only fractionally quicker, and the same can be said about the multi-core score, as you can see for yourself on the screen, which is great because considering the MacBook's processor speed is actually clocked slightly lower compared to the desktop one, but they're both quad cores, and it's nice to see the laptop is actually slightly quicker despite its portability, which is excellent. But the big difference, as you saw, was the hard drive or the SSD speed, because the MacBook Pros was running at 700 plus read and write megabytes per second compared to the iMac's older generation of SSD. It will only manage for 150 to 200 megabytes per second. At the moment, you won't really notice it too much if you're just using like 1 or 2 HD videos when editing, for example, but eventually if you're doing 4K or when you're using like 4 streams of HD video, which I sometimes do, it does make a difference. The iMac slows down a little bit, but only a little bit. Generally, day to day, it absolutely runs fine still, despite its 2-3 year age compared to the MacBook. But what I do love is that I've got the portability now, and I can also get additional screens in the future, so I won't lose any of the desktop space. But for now, because the MacBook is quicker and I don't need 2 machines running, this one's always just sitting there. I'm using it as a second display only. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to say goodbye to the iMac.